Hey, my friends, we will be right back to the show. But I have a question for you. Are you struggling with the impact of childhood trauma? Well, know that you're not alone. I'm here to let you know that I'm starting a brand new weekly coaching group that includes a year of life coaching, accountability, support, habit and goal setting, and more. I'm starting a waitlist for the group right now, and I'm only taking a handful of people. And I'll let you know that through this personalized coaching, we'll work together to help you understand how your childhood trauma has shaped your beliefs, behaviors, emotions, and will help you create a roadmap for healing and growth. Right now, you can schedule an absolutely free coaching session with me and get put on the wait list if you go to thinkunbroken.com. My friends, it's your time to turn your trauma into triumph, breakdowns into breakthroughs, and become the hero of your own story. And I'm here to support you in doing that. Just go to thinkunbroken.com to register for a free coaching call with me and to get put on the wait list for the brand new weekly coaching program. We'll be right back to the show. But before we do, I want to tell you about today's sponsor, factormeals.com, where if you go to factormeals.com/unbroken50 and use the code unbroken50, you can get 50% off your first order. That's factormeals.com/unbroken50. If you're like me and you are a person who is busy trying to create a life, heal, work on their health, wealth, and relationships, and not to mention deal with the day-to-days of normal life, you do not have time to be going to the grocery store and trying to figure out what you're going to cook every single day of the week. In fact, one time I did the math and I realized I was spending over 15 hours a week at the grocery store and cooking. When I added Factor, I got to use that time for myself, for my family, for my friends, for my community, and for my business. And so if you're in the place where you need some more support in the kitchen, head to factormeals.com/unbroken50 and use the code unbroken50 to get 50% off. Hey, my friends, we will be right back to the show. But I have a question for you. Are you struggling with the impact of childhood trauma? Well, know that you're not alone. I'm here to let you know that I'm starting a brand new weekly coaching group that includes a year of life coaching, accountability, support, habit and goal setting, and more. I'm starting a waitlist for the group right now, and I'm only taking a handful of people. And I'll let you know that through this personalized coaching, we'll work together to help you understand how your childhood trauma has shaped your beliefs, behaviors, emotions, and will help you create a roadmap for healing and growth. Right now, you can schedule an absolutely free coaching session with me and get put on the wait list if you go to thinkunbroken.com. My friends, it's your time to turn your trauma into triumph, breakdowns into breakthroughs, and become the hero of your own story. And I'm here to support you in doing that. Just go to thinkunbroken.com to register for a free coaching call with me and to get put on the wait list for the brand new weekly coaching program. Hey, what's up, Unbroken Nation? Today I'm going to share something a little bit different with you. You may notice if you're following me on social that I launched Mondays with Michael, which is a small group coaching session that I'm doing for free. And so I'm pulling a couple of those questions that we had last night here into the podcast for you to listen to, because I think there's a lot of value in the conversations that we had. And each Monday for the foreseeable future, I'm hosting a small group session that you can check out if you click the link in the show notes or if you visit linktree.com/Michael Unbroken. And each week I'm taking a handful of people for a complimentary coaching session and small group. And we're going to talk about the things that are on your mind around trauma, mindset, life, recovery, and becoming the hero of your own stories. So this is a small excerpt from that last conversation. And if you missed it, that's okay, because there will be more. And I'm looking forward to spending some time with you guys there. So check it out, and I'll talk to you soon. What's up, Unbroken Nation? Welcome to another episode of the Michael Unbroken Podcast. My goal and company is to give you the tools to help you understand your past, get out of the vortex, and become the hero of your own story. This podcast is sponsored by thinkunbroken.com, and you can check out my new book, Think Unbroken: Understanding and Overcoming Childhood Trauma. This podcast is not a substitute for mental health care, but instead think of it more as a companion where we're here to support each other and to grow.
Each episode of the Michael Unbroken Podcast is less than 10 minutes, though sometimes that does not happen. So hang out with me, stay tuned. If you have questions, if you want to have conversations with me, or you have information you want to share, reach out to me directly on social media at Michael Unbroken, or you can email me at michael@thinkunbroken.com. Enjoy this episode, my friend, and until next time, be unbroken.
My main question is, I've always engaged, I've realized, I guess like through therapy, I've always engaged in very unhealthy relationships because of childhood trauma. And I actually just got divorced recently, but I've actually, I was divorced. I've been divorced for about a year already and starting to date and things like that. And now I'm like a serious relationship, but it's almost like now that I'm actually addressing the deeper, like the root cause of, the issues I have, how do you try to maintain like a healthy relationship without trying to go back into those old behaviors?
Yeah, that's a really fantastic question. And how do you maintain a healthy relationship without going into old behaviors after experiencing trauma? I've thought long and hard about this because it is so close to home for me. And I spent a long time in these negative relationships because it seemed like that was what I was supposed to do. Right? You kind of come from, I learned these negative behaviors because these are the experiences that I had as a child. So of course it makes sense. Why wouldn't I be with someone that treated me like shit, right? You go, right. Okay, that's normal, right? But that's nonsense. And we have to hold ourselves to a higher level of esteem and accountability in that. And so what I would ask you first is, and you can go as detailed or not as detailed as you want. This is your space, so it's up to you, okay? What is it that you ultimately want to accomplish in your relationship?
I think for me, it's definitely understanding that I am worthy of having like true, deep love, just unconditional love that I never received in life, whether it was in, from my parents. My dad was an alcoholic. He was physically abusive to my mom. My mom was abusive to us. Kind of neglectful, things like that. So I think it's just, for me, I want to be in a relationship where I am accepting of healthy, true, deep love.
Yeah, totally. And I asked you that question because often it is worthiness as the underlying thing. You're like, how do I feel worthy of love and not push people away, right? And not fight them and not battle them and not, keyword here, which makes a lot of people uncomfortable, sabotage. How do I not blow up something good? And what you have to do is you have to get to this place where you're able to reframe your understanding of what it means to love yourself. Think about it like this. It's the oxygen mask mentality, right? You're on an airplane, the oxygen mask fall, the stewardess always goes, put yours on first, you first, right? You, Valerie, have to be first. Right? You can't give someone your full love and attention and the capacity to be open to them until you're that with yourself. Right? And one of the hardest things that you have to do, and I recognize this, trust me, I understand this thoroughly. I want to be very clear, is that you have to get a place where your self-worth and the way that you feel about yourself is not tied to another human being. Mm-hmm. Right? And that can be a really difficult place to be because we've often measured our worth against the understanding of other human beings. And what I mean by that is we've often said, okay, this is the way I feel about myself because everybody around me told me this is how I'm supposed to feel. I'm supposed to feel unworthy, unlovable, unhealthy. I'm supposed to feel like I'm a bad person or I don't deserve love or I can't have the things that I want. And so we become that story. And then what happens, we reiterate that. I'm going to guess you probably talk to yourself worse than you would let most people talk to you, right?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Stop it right now. You're not allowed to do that anymore, right? Because here's what happens. We're the stories that we tell ourselves. And so if every day you're telling yourself, I'm unworthy, that's going to be true, right?
Right.
Right? How does that feel to think about that?
I mean, it makes you feel crappier.
Yeah, so here's what you have to do. You have to challenge yourself to force, literally, this was my experience, because I suffered trauma so deeply that I had no idea who I was. And I had to force myself every day, every fucking day, I'm not even joking, to tell myself that I love myself by looking at myself in the mirror.
Yeah, I've definitely thought of that recently, to just put like Post-its up just to like remind myself, because it's easy to kind of go back into the older behaviors.
Yeah, it's easy to go back to the old behaviors, because here's what you have to understand. If it's true, which I believe it is, that we are the sum total of our experiences leading up till right now, like this moment, then who we are is informed by all the things that we've had happen, both the good and the bad, right? But often the bad outweighs the good because it's so much more intense. Like when you look at it on a scale, here's Disneyland and like here's abuse, right? It's like way higher, because that's naturally how we are as human beings. And so what you have to do is ask yourself, what are you willing to do for yourself first? The worst thing that I think about when it comes to relationships is self-sabotage, because you've put yourself against a wall and you said, I am making a decision to not open myself up to the possibility of love, to open myself up to the possibility that I have worthiness. And it's not unnatural, right? I think it's super fair, because that's what we come from. It's understandable. And so how do you do that, right? How do you get to this place? Like, oh my God, this is so fucking cliche, but it's so true. I'm dead serious. It's so true. One day at a time. Just literally one day at a time, one conversation with yourself at a time. One Valerie is good enough at a time. One I love myself at a time. One putting yourself first at a time. While understanding that you don't want to end up falling into a codependent relationship while you're on that pathway. Meaning that you don't want to end up having a relationship that again is based on your self-worth being tied to the opinions of another human being. And I'm not saying that it's not okay for you to find worth in a relationship, because I think we all do. We all want validation from our partner. We all want to feel good. But you also have to be very cautious in the way that you step into it, because ultimately, if you get back to this place where everything lies on them, what's going to happen?
Just going to go back to the same sort of dynamic.
Exactly. Exactly. So what I would challenge you to do, first off, have you ever read a book called Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach?
No.
Okay, I want you to go buy that book.
Okay.
As soon as we're done. Because here's why. I think that the baseline of understanding of how to create change in our life first starts with the way that we talk about ourselves, to ourselves, right? And I asked you this question, I said, are you mean to yourself? Are you unkind to yourself? And you said yes. And so that's challenge number one. How do you get out of that? And you step into kindness. You step into compassion. You step into empathy for yourself. And patience, right? Because it's going to take you time to get to this place where self-love and self-worthiness feels true. And often we get into the scenario of what I will call our shadow self, where it feels like a fraud. It feels fraudulent to love ourselves because we've never had that experience, right?
It's uncomfortable, yeah.
Yeah, it's super fucking uncomfortable, right? But how do you move through that? Patience. And doing it day in and day out and day in and day out. And like, I almost look at it like a goal. Like, I literally have on one of my life goals, it says, have a healthy and sustainable relationship. Because I had to define that. And then I defined what that looked like, right? So inevitably what I did created boundaries and parameters of what I consider to be acceptable in my own relationship. But it all started with me first, right? You can't step into a healthy relationship of any capacity. And as you know, and as you recognize, because you're like, how do I avoid this cycle, right? It's right. By doing that. So hearing all that, what's going through your head right now?
I'm almost, not that it's funny, it's not funny, but I can kind of feel like it's at, my relationship right now is sort of at that tipping point of like, I need to make sure I maintain the healthy changes that I've already made and continue them, because I feel like if I do have another, I guess, like sort of emotional, event, I guess I like to call them, it'll bring me back into that. And even my partner has said that, kind of mentioned it to me that he's noticed I've sort of kind of backtracked a little bit.
Yeah.
With that.
And so what I want you to think about is, so I look at this from like a game plan scenario. Like, how do you mitigate risk against that happening again, right? And so what practices in your life can you leverage? And what is it that you need to do for yourself first so that in those moments it doesn't turn into this explosion, but instead you go, okay, Valerie, what do I need right now? And then whatever it is that comes up, you honor that in yourself, because, you know, often we don't keep boundaries on ourselves, right? We don't say, hey, this is what I am or am not allowed to do. And so we're just fucking free falling through chaos. And so I would say, challenge you to the way you talk to yourself. Think about boundaries you put into place, right? Because if it's a blow up experience, think about it like this. If you said, I am not allowed to yell, scream, fight, kick stuff, throw stuff, break stuff, and I have to talk to myself kind, how do you think that would play out in arguments or in possible collisions in relationships? What do you think would happen?
You mean if I follow through with the boundaries I make?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll follow through with the rest of it all. I think I just, my love for myself is just kind of, it'll seep into other parts of my life.
Yeah. So. Start with you first and be patient. And one of the things that I think is really important too that I'll kind of leave you with here is, your partner is probably going to be super supportive of your journey, right? And they're going to be very much like, hey, I want this for you, right? And if they're not, you might need to reevaluate, right?
Right.
But I'm guessing that's not the case here from what you're saying.
No, he's been very supportive and even tried to be helpful because he's kind of gone through similar things.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I want you to think about is, they want you to succeed. You want you to succeed. So now how do you get there? Lay the groundwork, lay the foundation, do the hard thing, the uncomfortable thing, and start loving yourself slowly. And it sounds like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Sure, I'll go write these notes, I'll do these things. It's up here, right?
Right.
You have to beat this into your brain until it becomes true. Think about it like this. Anything that you've ever had to learn in your life took repetition, right?
Right.
To drive a car, to ride a bike, to write, to swim, to jump, to play sports, to do anything, your job. It all took repetition. It all took practice. But the thing about self-love that doesn't exist in the same parameters as all those other things, it's not tangible. I can't be like, self-love yourself 1 mile. That's not a thing.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And so what you have to think about is, what would it look like for self-love to be tangible? And for me, that experience was, okay, how do I put my feet on the ground in the morning and go, I'm good. I'm good with who I am as a person. And so I reverse engineered all of that till it got to the point where I was like, oh, that's how. And then you just start.
What was the name of that book again, real quick?
Yeah, it's called Radical Acceptance.
Okay.
Yeah. And of course, you can check out mine, Think Unbroken. I actually talk about this in that book also, because it was such a big part of this journey of getting to this place of like, oh, okay, peace with myself first, right? So awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. Amazing question. I really hope this helps you, okay?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Hey, my friends, we will be right back to the show. But I have a question for you. Are you struggling with the impact of childhood trauma? Well, know that you're not alone. I'm here to let you know that I'm starting a brand new weekly coaching group that includes a year of live coaching, accountability, support, habit and goal setting, and more. I'm starting a waitlist for the group right now, and I'm only taking a handful of people. And I'll let you know that through this personalized coaching, we'll work together to help you understand how your childhood trauma has shaped your beliefs, behaviors, emotions, and will help you create a roadmap for healing and growth. Right now, you can schedule an absolutely free coaching session with me and get put on the wait list if you go to thinkunbroken.com. My friends, it's your time to turn your trauma into triumph, breakdowns into breakthroughs, and become the hero of your own story. and I'm here to support you in doing that. Just go to thinkunbroken.com to register for a free coaching call with me and to get put on the wait list for the brand new weekly coaching program.
Doctors take Field of Greens for their own health. Here's Dr. Ryan Green to explain.
We're like you, too much fast food and not enough exercise. That's why I take Field of Greens. The fruits and vegetables in Field of Greens support my heart, lungs, kidneys, and metabolism for weight loss. And Field of Greens promises your doctor will notice your improved health or your money back.
Get 15% off with promo code HEALTH at fieldofgreens.com. That's promo code HEALTH at fieldofgreens.com. Product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.